All right, everyone, welcome back. So we continue on in our series of playoff clinching teams with the Florida Panthers today. The Panthers clinched on Thursday, so I'm a little bit late to this. It was a while ago. But the Panthers have become, I believe, the fourth team in the NHL at this point to have clinched a playoff spot. It's very impressive to see Florida be this consistent, even when a lot of people didn't think they were going to be like this. A lot of people didn't believe that Florida was going to be this, team that was as great as they were. Because last year, people thought that the run was a fluke, and a lot of people also thought that, in a way, after that final, everyone's beat up, everyone's injured, and that, they wouldn't be a great team this year. Obviously, those people were wrong. Florida is currently 47, 22, and 5 for 99 points. They are sixth in the NHL. They have scored 239 goals, have led in 182 for a plus 57 difference. They are 22, 13, and 2 at home, and they are 25, 9, and 3 on the road. So again, as I said, Florida's been a very impressive team this year, led by a lot of really solid scorers, and they're once again looking like a team that could go on another Stanley Cup run. They really do look like that. And the narrative that has come out was that a lot of players want to play for Florida. A lot of players want to go to Florida and help them go get a Stanley Cup because taxes are cheap, it's warm down there, and the team is pretty freaking good. So that is the narrative that we've seen here for a while with this Panthers team, even though it doesn't feel like that long ago the Panthers were a team that really, they weren't thought of as much, and they were kind of just meh for all those years. But now they're looking like a really solid team here heading into this year's playoffs once again. It's just impressive to see. Their leading scorer is Sam Reinhart. Reinhart obviously having a career season. 74 games played, 51 goals, 35 assists for 86 points with the Panthers this season. Reinhart, again, you see players in career years do really well, and in contract years do really well as well. And Reinhart is in both of those. He's having a career year and a contract year as well. So this man is going to get paid. He is going to get paid. He has had a really good season so far. He could hit 100 points. He's about 14 points away. So there is a solid possibility there that he does reach that. But yeah, 51 goals from Reinhart is really impressive. And I'm really excited to see how he does in the playoffs because, you see all this regular season success from Reinhart, but we'll obviously find out if that transitions over to the playoffs. I think it will. I really do think Florida could go on another run here, even though, there are some doubts that I do have with defensive depth-wise, and I'm a little bit hesitant on some of the goaltending issues. But apart from that, I do think this Panthers team really could go on another run again. It's being led by Sam Reinhart. Additionally, Matthew Tkachuk is second in scoring. Tkachuk has had not a down year necessarily, but a year that kind of is underwhelming, I guess that's another word for down. But regardless, 73 games played, 23 goals, 56 assists for 79 points with the Panthers this season. Again, Tkachuk is a player who just hasn't scored. He just hasn't been scoring at the level that we've seen him score in previous seasons. And even last year, too, like he was on a level that was just carrying the Panthers through and into the playoffs. And even in the playoffs, too. But with Tkachuk, it just hasn't been that high of a level this year. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. Tkachuk has definitely, he's had advanced analytics which show that he just hasn't been scoring. He's been getting the shots, getting the opportunities, just hasn't been finishing, which is fine. But then again, you obviously want to finish some of those goals. But still, Tkachuk, very solid player, arguably the best player on this team. I don't know if he's the best one this season, but definitely is a player who has definitely lived up to expectations, even with the down year in scoring. Third in scoring is Alexander Barkov. 65 games played, 21 goals, 50 assists, 71 points. Barkov also having a really solid season here too. He did miss some games, but still, he's been a very effective player. He's really not that underrated anymore. He's properly rated at this point. So I'm happy to see there that Barkov is doing some very solid game here with Florida. And definitely after all those years that he's been with the Panthers and just they haven't gone anywhere, it's good to see that Barkov is finally getting somewhere with this Florida Panthers team. Fourth in scoring is Carter Verhaeghe. Verhaeghe with 74 games played, 33 goals, 37 assists for 70 points. He's been another efficient player this season, even in his years with Tampa. He was very efficient, and he's come over to Florida, has been a very effective player. Was a big name in that Stanley Cup run last year to that final. So I'm thinking that if they're going to make a run for the Cup again, it's going to be Verhaeghe that helps them out on that run, and definitely could be a really clutch player for this Panthers roster for sure. And then finally, fifth in scoring, I have Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko with a little asterisk next to him because obviously he didn't play this full year with Florida. He actually played some of his time with the Ottawa Senators. So obviously that is something to keep in mind. But Tarasenko, 68 games played, 21 goals, 26 assists for 47 points. Significant drop-off there between him and Verhaeghe when it comes to points. That isn't a bad thing necessarily, but it's pretty obvious to see. But still, Tarasenko makes up part of that middle six, is a very solid, high-scoring forward who can get you goals in the playoffs for sure. And that's something that Florida definitely is going to need heading into these playoffs. Obviously, other guys that I think are significant are definitely guys on the defense. Ekblad's played well. Forsling's had a really good season. Montour's looked good. There have been guys that have come from that last season in that last playoff run, and have looked very effective for Florida. Just haven't been scoring the amount of points that they've scored in previous years because obviously a lot of them were run down from last year's playoffs. So that definitely will play a factor in obviously why, you don't look like how you usually do. So yeah, Vladimir Tarasenko, Verhaeghe, Barkov, Kachuk, and Reinhart are leading the way for this team, and obviously that is what was expected. Now, your goaltending has been good, but also there's a little bit interesting when it comes to backup. Spencer Knight has not played really that much this season, and it's given Anthony Stolarz another opportunity here to redeem himself. So Bobrovsky, 33, 16, and 3, a 2.40 and a .914. Obviously, Sergei Bobrovsky has been a very big-name Panther this season. Again, even in those years where we thought the contract of his wasn't that great, he's kind of redeemed himself with that, and has also been a very notable goalie this season, and kind of gets overlooked a little bit too. I feel like he's been overlooked a little bit with Florida, but still a very solid big-name player who definitely deserves some recognition. And if Florida's going to go on that crazy run in the playoffs again, they're going to need Bobrovsky to play the level he did and better. So definitely I hope that comes there, Bobrovsky, but I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the playoffs again with him as their starter. Anthony Stolarz, as I mentioned, with Spencer Knight not playing, it's given Stolarz an opportunity to really, get a solid backup role here. But Stolarz, 14, 6, and 2, a 2.02 goals against average and a .925 save percentage. Stolarz, again, I don't know if he's a playoff suitable goalie, but definitely could be a backup that's reliable. And again, Spencer Knight hasn't played that much this season. I do hope he's okay because he was looked at as a very promising goalie, and just it hasn't been that so far in his career. So I hope things do turn around for the young goalie, and I hope things get better for him. But regardless, the Panthers have been doing just fine with the Bobrovsky and Stolarz tandem. So how far does Florida go? I really do think they could go on a run again. And I mean, they've been really good for the better half of this season, but they have been struggling recently, and we've seen teams in previous years struggle heading into the playoffs, and that's what affects them. That's what affects them in the playoffs. Now, then again, there have been teams that have struggled throughout the majority of the season and have really, really kind of just turned it up at the playoffs, and that's kind of what happened to Florida last year. Could we see that again this year? Definitely. I feel like we could, but Florida's not in that instance again where they were the lower seed and they weren't in the upper hand advantage to win it. And I think that's part of why, Boston and, the other teams they played didn't really take them as seriously in those games. And I didn't either. I picked every other team, I think. I think I picked Carolina. I think I picked Boston. I think I picked Toronto. I think I even picked Vegas to beat them in the finals. So I was doubting Florida every step of the way last season, but I won't be this year. I'm going to be relying on Florida a lot. I really do think this team can go on another big run, and I hope they do, because in the Panthers' history, we have not seen a whole lot of success in regards to this Florida team, so I'm really hoping that changes for the better. heading into this new era of Panthers hockey. But yeah, the Panthers have clinched the playoff spot. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe down below. That would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the playoffs. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.